Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/bonfireside chat. There are over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
My name is Murph.
And you are listening to Bonfireside Chat, an Undead favorite.
And this week we are talking about the return to the Undead Asylum and the Painted World of Ariamis. Thank you so much for joining us, Murph. Murph, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hi, well, I'm Murph. I'm from the Dork Knight podcast, and I'm also a Dark Souls addict. And I blame you two, actually, because...
You were telling us about that in the green room, saying that you started when we first started the show here a couple of months ago, and you've beaten it 3 times?
Not beaten, but I've beaten it twice.
There we go. Okay.
And then I guess
well on your way.
Well on my way on to a third time, and then also the New Game Plus. Mm-hmm. So, and then also Demon Souls.
Souls.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much for hopping on here with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Cool. So, in the last episode, we uncovered the illusion of Anor Londo, and took on Dark Sun Gwendolyn and Ornstein and Smo. And now we're going to spend a little bit of time investigating that mysterious painting in that room full of the Ku Klux Cobra guys, or whatever we ended up calling the Painted Guardians last episode.
Yeah. This is very much a side road. I mean, this is an optional area that a lot of people might possibly miss. Mm-hmm. So, there's going to be a little bit of like twists and turns before we get on the critical path. A lot of people, once they get the Lord Vessel, they're going to go back to Kingseeker Framped. There we go. Mm-hmm. And, proceed on to take on the people from the intro cutscene. But, there's some stuff that you need to do here. And before we go to the Painted World, we have to act like an egg.
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about how weird and inscrutable this was, and then kind of got called out on a little bit online where people are like, it's not that inscrutable. I still think it's pretty inscrutable.
Yeah, like in order to access the nest, like you have to do a move that I don't think the game requires you to do like anywhere else. Really, I don't like. You know what I mean? It's like sort of a jump off of a ledge, off of a kind of a place that really doesn't seem like you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It definitely rewards curiosity. And as you're riding that elevator between Firelink and the parish, you will see items that are on top of that chapel where, what's his name?
Petrus.
Petrus, Rhea Pusher. No, that would be Patches, rather. Petrus, the secret Dark Wraith.
He pushes her.
Does he?
Well, he doesn't push her. He's got sinister designs.
Yes.
For her. But that'll be in the star-studded catacombs episode.
Yeah, but you can see up there, it definitely rewards your curiosity. So there's a reason for you to be there. But you're right, Murph. There's not a lot of platforming that you're expected to do.
And the engine doesn't lend itself well to platforming.
No.
Like every time I have to jump over something, makes getting that ring of sacrifice under the bridge or the bed of chaos fight later on. Real pain in the balls. But if you're able to do it, you definitely get rewarded here.
The game actively seems to actively discourage it because there's an item in the Berg where it seems like you can benefit from just like jumping, like running and jumping, but actually you can't get across until you're on top of the roof of that building sometime later. It's kind of like, if it looks like I can jump, I can't because of this, so I will not try jumping ever again.
Right, and for a game with just like a lot of like verticality built into the macro map, if that's a way of saying it, like it's a compact world and it kind of goes up. Like there's not a lot of platforming, if you will.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you do, I think there's a little bit of tolerance built into this because you don't actually jump; you can roll off.
Yeah.
and land on. And I feel like it's a little bit more forgiving, as a platform. Maybe the hitbox for it is a little wider. I don't miss this. Like, I never hit this and fall off.
Right.
You can always just kind of roll forward onto it, even at medium or heavy roll. So yeah.
Yeah. You just have to know that you can do it, and you have to know to try to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to. Do we want to bring up the egg nest?
Yeah. Well, first you want to grab that key real quick, which heaven knows why that's there, right? Like, that's there's no. Can we think of any cool clue reason why the key to that door?
What
in
key
the
is
asylum?
that?
It's the key that unlocks the way to the rusted iron ring. It's on the roof. It's the item you were talking about above Petrus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I speculate?
Yeah, man.
It was somebody who got there, got it, got everything that he needed to. The crow was bringing him back, but he fell out of the claws and fell onto the roof and died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Works for me. But yeah, then you see that nest up there, which you can actually see down from Framp's jacuzzi down at the bottom. But you actually can get up to it, and that's the nest.
Yeah.
It's weird in that it doesn't trigger the, I guess, move to the asylum right away. Like, you have to stay there for a good minute or so.
Yeah, it's a test of patience. Like, you curl up into a ball, it gives you the prompt, and you need to do it. But it's really similar to how you enter the Gravelord servant later, where it's testing you to see if you give up. Like, kind of like the waterfall in Earthbound, or something like that. Yeah,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that in kind of talking about our frustrations with this, it's not that it's so weird that you would be up there. It's weird that your character would know to do this weird thing.
Yeah, that's true. And it's also weird that the Raven, when I first did this, I thought maybe the Raven was mistaking you for an egg, and that's why it was carrying you. But that's not. Birds don't have like a weekend nest and a weekday nest. And every once in a while, hey, I'm feeling flighty. Let's go to the weekend nest and carry all my kids there. Like, it's just because, and as we'll talk about when we start talking about the Painted World, I think that this crow is actively in service of you. And all you're doing is making it easy for it to carry you or signaling that you want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Yeah.
I mean, but if he's in service of you, why doesn't he just fly you, to someplace that's...
into the kiln of the first flame?
Yeah.
There you go. Here's Gwen.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Lord of the Rings problem. But I heard somewhere that the reason that is a thing, why the Eagles didn't just take them there, is because they only respond to direct pleas from God. So
yeah, and this could very well be the same thing here. They only respond to direct pleas from their God.
Oh yeah, that is true. So in that case, it wouldn't be that the crow is Velka, but that it is a servant of Velka who wants you to find her. Or wants you to serve her, wants you to accomplish a certain task. And this is, we're going to get into this area has some of my favorite speculation that has the least support.
Oh yeah, there's I've got some great theories about this.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it about that. And like the thing that I've settled on into believing, I really feel great about narratively, but I just want to add an extra disclaimer to the disclaimer we always have that there's an element of this stuff where we're talking out of our ass.
Oh yeah.
And, so anything that, your interpretation is fine. Feel free to correct us, but know that, take this with a grain of salt.
Definitely. Yeah. But you get back to the asylum and you're outside of the front door there, and there are a bunch more hollows here than were here before.
Yeah. And that's really important, just to signal that things have changed.
Right.
Like, you're not just going back to the same area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't find it before, there's a nest off to the left there that it kind of looks like you're just going to drop off into nothing. But if you stand there for a second or two, there's a smaller crow that is not visible who asks you to trade her shiny and fuzzy.
You, give me warm, give me soft.
Again, another Demon Souls reference.
Yep. Was it? It's Snuggly the Crow in Demon Souls, and it's Sparkly the Crow in Dark Souls.
It's actually you have it wrong in the notes. It's Snuggly in Dark Souls.
Ah, okay.
And Sparkly in Demons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that the crow has a human larynx, and B, that it talks like a child.
It's really creepy because it kind of like squawks around its speech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's like it can't like help it like make these kind of struggling bird noises.
Like it's the fly, like he just can't help but pull his fingernails off.
Yeah. It's someone transforming or something like that almost. It's really odd. And it's this process is really sub-optimized and a huge pain in the ass. And if you are not using Wiki for this, like God help you.
Yeah.
Like if you were just, you know, going through every item in your inventory, like I wonder if he'll like, you know, because it will tell you, you know, he or she will reject things.
Right.
But huge pain in the ass to put all that stuff down and pick it up on this narrow precipice.
Yeah.
So if you find this, please just like Google, you know, Snuggly trading list.
And
It's the best way.
I mean, there's some really good stuff in here.
Oh yeah,
You can trade for like nothing that's essential, but just really nice.
yeah. Upgrade stuff mostly.
A lot of Titanite, yeah, like that you wouldn't be able to get a lot of. So like you get the crest shield a little bit later here, or no, the dragon crest shield.
You get the
I'm
crest shield.
almost- yeah,
It's the crest.
but both of them are upgraded with the twinkling Titanite, of which you can get you can get an abundance for the various kinds of moss. So that is like the first step.
Yeah, and then kind of you know, trading. You get that rubbish in the beginning. You know, the kind of troll where the game says this is not used for anything, and you
Right.
can trade it for a Titanite chunk.
Which is huge.
And isn't there a way to trade for a Titanite slab? And I think
You can trade a fully upgraded Pyromancer flame for a Titanite slab.
okay, never mind.
Which is crazy because that is, you know, so many hundreds of thousands of souls invested. I don't know the exact number, but like you know, if you're that desperate for, you know, just go farm for one at the dark rates, and you'll get one before you earn all those souls. But and the red Titanite slab is one of the easiest ones to get. So the you know, just you're rare, you're gonna need more than one, but you can. It's an option.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, there's some ways that you can get like plot relevant items. I think that you trade the sunlight maggot for the old witch's ring if you're interested in getting it. You know, hearing the plot dialogue from from the fair lady without taking that as your gift, because why?
Yeah, you can also. I mean, there's other neat things too.
Yeah.
This is where you can trade the Xanthus crown, which is an item we'll get a little bit later in the show, for a second ring of favor and protection.
Right.
Which I thought with my soul level 1 character, that was my big goal, was to put on 2 of those.
Oh.
And you can't actually put on 2 of the same ring.
Oh no!
But it was nice because it meant that when I went down to, you know, when I had to wear the Covenant of Artorias, I could break my ring of favor and protection and still have a backup.
Yeah.
So that's really useful.
It bugs me.
It bugs
me that is abbreviated as FAP.
Yeah, ring of fat.
Yeah.
My.
Also of note, if you have the DLC, this is where you can trade in the Soul of Manus for the Pursuers spell.
Yeah,
later on.
Largely considered to kind of break PvP.
Right.
That Dark Souls haters blog. Tumblr that we like. A lot of the messages are just about using pursuers and people being furious about it. But in a weird, something that just occurred to me is that this whole trek has so many Demon Souls throwbacks, and this is one of them. Whereas in Demon Souls, you could kind of trade souls for spells in addition to weapons, and it was really awesome. Mm-hmm. And this is the only soul you can trade for a spell in Dark Souls.
Oh yeah,
and that's a definite step downward. Like being able to have all that utility from souls is one of the reasons why. You know, one of the advantages Demon Souls has.
Right. So. Yeah. So you go into the asylum itself. If you run right across the center of the room, you will fall down and fight what I think is one of the more frustrating bosses in the game.
Oh, man, yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
So the first time I was following, I think, a FAQ, and this is where the FAQ is usually helpful, but in this time was hurtful, because the FAQ said, return to the asylum right after doing Blighttown.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. I think I had like a longsword and like, I don't even, like, it was maybe +5. And now, first time through fighting one of the biggest HP sponges in the game.
This is a tough fight. Like, this was one of the, and I, you know, in retrospect now, I value these, like scars. But the one of the boss fights that really taught me something. And this was the first one where I stripped down naked because he could one-shot me. So, like, you know, I realized, like, I need to dodge this and learn all of the patterns because I cannot tank anything from this guy, which was true at the time. Like, you know, that's not true now necessarily. But I ended up using the Drake Sword on him on my first playthrough, even though I'd long abandoned it, just because if I two-handed it, it did the most damage. And at this point, this is one of these bosses where, like, I can first try him pretty regularly now, just because this took me, you know, 10 or 15 tries the first time through.
Did we actually say that it's the stray demon?
Yes. No, we have not. It is the stray demon. It is the angry cousin of the demon that you fought at the beginning of the game.
And the angry second cousin of Demon Fire Sage.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
In fact, when I encountered Demon Fire Sage, like, I immediately got this boost of confidence because I was like, all right, I know how to beat this guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're very similar.
It looks like he's using fire damage, but it's actually magic. That helps, too, if you know that.
Yep, because you get the that crush shield here a little later. So if you first enter this room, you don't always fall down there. Like, if you watch, the hollows will avoid the middle of the room.
Right.
That takes, like, a crazy amount of observational skill. But the way I avoided this, I didn't know that you'd fall down. I just ran off to the right to fight one of the hollows and then rested at the bonfire because I thought maybe some stuff would be up. And managed to not fall down in this pit my first way through. But you're definitely, I think you're intended to. Like, the idea is kind of a trap.
Right.
So,
though it's kind in a way, because if you, I guess, fall in the intended way, and if you get out of the way really quickly, like off to the side, he will not aggro. So you can actually heal up from that fall.
Yeah, you always roll. I always roll to my right 3 times, then get behind a pillar, like every single time, and heal up, and then you can kind of take the battle on it as you want. And he's not. Once you kind of know him, like, you just have to stay behind him as much as possible, and then back off when he does something that's an area effect. But the trick is keeping him in the center of the room. Like, if he gets you into a corner where, you know, getting behind him, you're up against a wall, then he's going to hit you with that area effect of magic, which just does insane amounts of damage with the shields you have at this point.
Right.
Oh yeah, this is a fight about just maintaining your distance and not being greedy.
Yeah. Yep. Patience.
Yeah. I've only ever beaten him by what seemed like dumb luck ever in the past.
I think you guys hit on some of the localization stuff on the last episode, and it kind of bugs me because he's in captivity. He's not like a
he's not a stray in any way.
Yeah, could this be like a spare demon?
That would be that was what I thought. He's waiting in the wings in case his cousin dies. It's like, oh boy, I'm ready for my big shot. And in actuality, like, he wanted it more. He was hungrier, so he learned all this magic and shit.
The understudy demon. The cool. I mean, you see him earlier in this. Like, you can see he can be the first creature you see in the game. You know, when you first leave your cell, which is really cool to actually have this kind of play in a little bit later. But he's just patrolling, like, back and forth, you know, 40 or 50 Toomba links. Like, he's not doing, you know, he's not doing anything. It's so weird, you know. He is like a sentient trap only.
He's waiting.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's no huge reward for getting him. You get a Titanite slab, which is awesome because it can help you get up to plus 15 on a regular item if you
or lightning. Get up to plus 10 or plus 5 on lightning.
Okay.
Also uses regular Titanite.
I thought it also gave you the final plus on armor.
Yeah. Anything that upgrades with regular Titanite.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's actually a huge benefit. Like, going to fighting this guy, like, that's a big deal, especially with weapons, because that's something I didn't realize on my first playthrough, but on subsequent ones, if I'm doing a character that is going to emphasize any stat, or is going to emphasize dexterity or strength, I would rather do the regular upgrade path, because with stat scaling, you're going to get a lot better results just getting that up to maximum.
I just tend to go raw, use the Drake sword, you know.
Nobody does raw.
I know. Raw, crystal, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
I actually just fought him just before this episode as a sort of prep, and I'm going through on my, I guess, dexterity play, and I'm using the bandit's knife, and kind of by accident, I found out he is super weak to bleed damage.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, if you hit him like a couple times with something like the Great Scythe, I guess, or the bandit knife, why you would use that, anything other than a kind of a weird play run like I'm doing.
Right.
It takes off like a huge chunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily true, but I feel like most of the demons in the game are susceptible to bleed. I know it's true of Fire Sage later. So
bleed and lightning. Does lightning do damage to him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does. I don't know if it does extra damage.
Yeah, I suppose.
Him. Yeah. Actually, maybe he doesn't, because that first playthrough was the only one I used a lightning weapon on, and that's when I switched to the Drake sword because it was doing more damage. So
right.
Who knows?
Huh.
But if you manage to avoid him, or if you manage to, we'll continue as if you go to the bonfire instead of going down there.
Right.
And you run into Oscar, the first NPC you meet in the game, who warned you that he is going to go hollow. And if you didn't kill him, he's hollow now.
Yeah.
And totally crazy.
Yep. Yeah, crazy, and also carrying one of the better shields in the game.
Yeah.
So, as much as it pains you to put him down, you kind of benefit from doing it.
Oscar, I guess, has a lot of cut content, and it's really neat how far he has actually gotten. I think I've perused a couple boards, and I think a couple people say that they think he might have actually gotten the Lord Vessel and might have collected a couple of the Lord Souls.
It's there's a lot there. Like if you look into it, so I don't remember hearing about him specifically collecting Lord Souls. I know that in the original cut content, though, he sides with the serpent. You don't.
Right.
So he starts off as an ally and then becomes an enemy in kind of a boss fight because he's serving whichever one you are not, which is awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Okay, so yeah, he could become a member of the Chaotic Evil Covenant, the Dark Wraiths. Yes.
Yep.
It's also true that he is the guy who's leaving the messages for you in Divine Guidance, I believe it is.
Yeah. Or I think it's just Guidance.
Guidance, yeah.
Is the name? Yeah. That Crest Shield, so I always do, there's a little bit of a sequence breaking, because I always do this Return to the Asylum and the Painted World before I do Ornstein and Smo.
Right.
And part of the reason is because you get this shield and it makes Gwendolyn, a breeze. Like having the shield with huge magic resist. But yeah, it's one of my favorite shields. I usually will pick this or the Dragon Crest shield and just kind of make that my go-to.
Yeah, it just depends on what I'm trying to emphasize. I always get the Dragon Crest and try and get it up to +5. But this is a nice utility shield if you're fighting anybody. Like, this is a necessity if you're going to Dukes anytime soon.
Yeah. Yep. Very useful. Also in here, so if you beat the demon or if you're just kind of exploring, you'll run into a couple Black Knights, which are notable mostly because they guaranteed drop red Titanite chunks.
Right.
So that's useful if you're doing a fire upgrade path. But you mostly just want to get past them and go to the reason why we're returning is to go back to your old cell and get the peculiar doll.
Can I step back onto the Black Knights, I guess?
Yeah.
Or are they are black, right? I'm going to speculate in terms of narrative here. Is this maybe Gwen finally saying, oh shit, the chosen undead has broken out. I better send some people to investigate?
If not investigate, maybe guard you from getting this doll, which leads you to the Painted World, which has god-killing items in it.
Oh, right. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, that's astute, because I haven't thought about why there might be changes. I wasn't thinking of an active player making these changes other than Seath, but this could definitely be something that Gwen has done.
Yeah. The heat is definitely on. It depends on whether or not you believe that the Black Knights are sentient and making their own decisions, or if they are just kind of hollow extensions of Gwen's remaining will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
The other
anybody,
theory,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I have another crazier theory.
The crazier, the better, my friend.
Okay, so we all know that time is kind of weird in Loderon, right?
Yeah.
So maybe these Black Knights were there before you arrived at the prison, and so you return before you originally arrive, and so you facilitate your own breakout by killing the guards and slaying the undead mobs that roam the asylum, and so
That's awesome, because because it explains also why this thing was in your cell when you wasn't there when you were there before.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So we are straight up fucking with causality. That's why you fight the stronger demon now, because this is before you fought the lame one later or earlier, depending on how the universe works.
Yeah. That totally makes sense though. That's kind of good. Like the idea of you breaking yourself out is pretty strong, even though you do kill Oscar.
Yeah.
Right.
On your way back. So I mean, you can kind of explain it with just like Dark Souls being goofy, but that does surprise, wrap up a surprising number of things.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, good work.
You out craziness.
Yeah. One of the cool thing about the peculiar doll, which is the key to the Painted World, the kind of what you can extrapolate from this, like the description mentions like a hideous half-breed or a monstrous abomination that had this before being shunted to a Painted World. And I guess the idea being that maybe when Priscilla was a child, it was considered inhumane to keep her, to banish her to this prison planet, essentially. And instead she was kept in the asylum. Like, would that be maybe why this is here?
I mean, it is on a corpse of some, like, husk. So
yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
So maybe it was like Mr. Burns' teddy bear, and it just got, like, wicked far away, and then that person went hollow and was brought back?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I got the idea that, like, this, at some point, I didn't get the idea. It says this, that whatever this abomination, which we now know to be Priscilla, was kept here before being shunted away. Right. Which, like, it says a lot about that culture and society that's considered more humane to put somebody in this, Les Mis style crumbling prison from Labyrinth instead of, this like putting them in the Painted World, like as a kid, as somebody who would play with this sad little like Blair Witch style doll.
Yeah. Well,
like,
see, I thought that this was a way to kind of put her medicine in her applesauce. Just kind of like, hey, here, have this doll that happens to be a magic key to, a prison dimension. So
that's true too.
So just kind of like, hey, here's this thing. So that way nobody had to feel bad. It's kind of like how they give, there's like 5 executioners and they all have a button. So that way nobody knows that they're the one who killed them kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, hey, here, take this thing. Oh no, she's in the painting now.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, this speculation makes sense because we know that Priscilla was originally meant to have a much bigger role.
Right.
In the game. So, like, the fact that some of this story stuff that we're conjecturing on very well could have been there at some point in the game's planning.
And I think I kind of linked this in something. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I think someone is speculating because one of the screenshots in Dark Souls 2 looks suspiciously like the walk-up to the Painted World.
Yeah, the rope bridge.
Yes.
Not just looks like it. In the developer interview, they said we've seen this bridge before.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's more. Yeah, it's more than that. So I mean, it's pretty, and I'm excited about that. Like that's really cool to me because I love this area quite a bit.
So
yeah. So and we don't really need to cover the room that gets you to the painting again. We talked about that. You can run past all the painting guardians if you want to. Don't get swarmed, and then you get sucked in and you're trapped. It's a one-way ticket.
Oh, yep.
It's a one-way ticket via a horrifying cutscene.
Yeah,
And you're even trapped even if you have the Lord vessel, and you can warp. Like this bonfire that you first initially encounter is cut off.
Right.
Which is really, I guess, other than one other place.
There are 2 bonfires that are not connected to the rest of them. This one and Duke's.
Well, also all the ones in the asylum.
Oh, okay.
Are not connected to the rest, but I mean, this is the only one, and it's not all the Duke's ones. It's just the one in the prison. So it's pretty rare that they pull this on you.
Right. But it definitely lends some claustrophobia.
Yeah. And luckily, there's a kind of an experience gate. So like by the time you can get here and get to the painting, like it might be more challenging if you go there right as soon as you can get to Anor Londo, but you're not going to end up here at level 2.
Right.
Unless
you're doing an SL2 run.
Yeah, except for when I was here on my level 1 run. But yeah, so I mean, at least that's helpful. One of the things I love about this area is that, and when we talked about this in relation to something either on a Watch Out for Fireballs or on this, but like the power of contrast. So like you spend all of your time in, kind of crumbling cities, and then Darkroot, which is this really verdant green. And going to the Painted World reminded me of the Sanctuary in Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Like when you're just suddenly in an entirely different color palette and a different style of area.
A different
and
climate.
Just feels really alien.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's it feels like a world apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also and just kind of talking generally a little bit about the structure, and this was something I came to later, but this area, in addition to having its kind of narrative focus, I think is really kind of a love letter to Demon Souls.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of references, and then just the way it plays, like the way that it is a linear level with shortcuts that all kind of cut back to the beginning. It's one bonfire, there's an exit at the end, and then it's just about making it a little bit further down this line every time.
I love the way they use space in this level, because once you've completely beaten it, you can literally run through it in like a minute, 2 minutes maybe.
Right.
Yep. Really effective shortcuts and really
Yeah, the critical path through it is like a series of concentric circles that get ever wider, and then you can just cut a line right across the diameter of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. The one kind of drawback, as much as I like this world a lot, is the fact that they rely on, the primary enemy you're running into are kind of beefed up hollows.
Right.
So, I would have appreciated, just for enemy palette to be a little bit wider.
Kind of beefed up hollows? I mean, are you talking about the flame tumors?
I was just talking about the regular hollows you run into.
Oh, yeah.
Are tougher than the regular ones.
Yeah,
but the flame tumors are...
Ugh.
I can get behind those guys.
Yeah. The thing that makes like the kind of the beefed up hollows, I call them pirate hollows because they're climbing up the walls with their blades in their teeth.
Yeah,
and
that happens a lot.
That happens so much. You'll think that you're fine. They don't make a lot of noise when they're climbing up, and you go to the end of a digression there. Then you come back like, holy shit, there are 6 of them. Where did they come from? Oh, they climbed up the walls, and they're right there now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and they're fucking tough, man. Like it's like they're enemies that you were originally taught not to fear, and now they are in groups and they do more damage. They're toughened by this harsh, peaceful land, and that means you no harm. And I wish they just would have looked a little bit different. Like I really like how they do that in the DLC. Like you fight essentially very similar, just kind of townspeople, but they look different. They have different move sets, and they kind of handle that Goomba a little bit better.
Yeah. The dredgelings.
But the flame tumors. Talk to us about flame tumors.
Fucking okay. So the flame tumors in a world where like you probably didn't come in, like at least I've never gone in here with a lot of humanity to like kindle the bonfires. Very very rarely have I come in with the rite of kindling. Enemies that if you don't know not to kill them with a melee weapon will toxic you. Toxic being the most hated status effect in the game.
Yeah.
For me, like there are ones that are like slightly more inconvenient, but this is the one that will kill you the quickest, I think. Just kind of like, hey, have fun now. So you have 5 Estus, and you're just kind of like just trying to make as many runs as you can. God help you if you don't have A, a fire weapon, or B, any kind of ranged attack, because they will mess your shit up.
Well, you want to my solution to this on my first playthrough, I was using the Black Knight Greatsword.
Okay.
And if you if the two-handed strong attack is essentially a golf swing, and it will launch them far enough away so that you don't get the toxin when you kill them.
Yeah. And they move slow enough that you can actually like time the lead up if you don't have them locked on.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not trivial to do, but it's worth it to avoid the toxin.
Yeah, my tactic to deal with them was to use combustion, greater combustion. That was kind of my like, okay, I'll do my couple hits with my Zweihander and then just kind of cauterize their wound with combustion.
Yeah. You can also, if you're quick, you can roll out of the way too. Like if you roll back as soon as you kill them, you won't get toxic. The most recent playthrough I did was with my two-handed strength guy with no shield.
Right.
Like on Tuesday, I think, or Tuesday or Wednesday, I went through this area with that guy, and as long as you roll directly backwards away from them, you don't get toxic. If you roll a little bit to your right or left, you do. So I got toxic a bunch of times with him, and that was definitely frustrating.
Yeah.
So I just kind of would try to get to the next shortcut, while my life was slowly draining away.
Yeah.
And
Some of them are pyromancers. Some of them just have torches.
yeah.
So they kind of look like they're infected with blight pus, but I think there's a spell that you get in this area a little later on that kind of leads you to believe that they're not from the Greats or not from Blighttown, I think.
You get a spell like an acid spray,
Acid surge,
ball,
yeah.
that talks about there being pyromancers who are not from the Great Swamp.
I think this is a fire spell. Hold on, I can.
There is a spell called Fire Surge that you do find here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think it mentions it being developed in a faraway land.
Yeah, but they're definitely here. They're definitely hollow. Let's see here. Pyromancy from Pyromancy foreign of the Great Swamp creates a surge of flame from the palm of the hand. Not all pyromancy originates in the Great Swamp. One hears rumors of unknown pyromancers inhabiting various lands, and this spell is the work of one such outlander. Yeah.
All right.
I like these things are disgusting.
Yep.
As well, and I'm genuinely creeped out by how they look and how they're bulbous. Like they look a little bit like boomers from Left 4 Dead, like the way that boomers kind of like jiggle when they walk, or like the smoker's like weird neck goiter in Left 4 Dead, and I really appreciate it.
What up with your with your torso, dog?
Yeah. Right at the top of the stairs here too, and kind of and the other thing too that we didn't really talk about is there are corpses everywhere.
Oh, for fucking like you'll find more of them later, but they're just like hanging from ropes.
Yeah, like hanging from ropes, hung up on trees. Like everything is like a warning. Like everything here is dead.
Right.
Once you go up that first set of stairs too, there's kind of a neat thing. If you go into that first building, there's a shortcut I always do, which is kind of a non-intended shortcut. But if you jump off one of the ledges, you can jump down to the courtyard right from the beginning and unlock the front door off the top. Which again, like I didn't realize that the first time I did it, but now that I've done it, I realize it like feels really Demon Soulsy. It feels like the shortcut in 4.1 in Demon Souls.
Right.
Yep. The building to the left after the first set of stairs.
Mm-hmm.
After you go up there, do we want to talk about the Banshees? Because when you climb that, you're kind of. I was greeted with this like just this expansive view of the level, and just kind of lurking in like the far distance. You just see these like crow-like beings, menacingly, just kind of really far, not really threatening you, but just ominously surveying the land. And it was just like a really like cool like moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're flying around, they're surveying, they're watching.
Yeah, bird-like.
As in half bird.
Yeah.
Well, and then they come down, and then you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they do that move that every like sexy lady assassin does, where they like strangle you with their thighs.
Yeah, like the crotch slam with their weird, creepy Barbie crotches. Yeah. Like, God help the internet fool who's masturbating to those people. God help him. Like,
and if you're listening, stop. You're gonna chafe.
Yeah. 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 I like these guys though. They're like a nice bit of toughness. Like they're tricky. They've got a fairly unpredictable. Like there's not very much wind up to their regular attacks, other than their jump on your shoulder one, which has a little bit more range than I sometimes will give it credit for.
Right.
But there's a huge like wind up for it. Like it's super telegraphed.
Yeah.
But
sometimes
sometimes
they're doing stage magic.
Like no matter how telegraphed it is, like they fight you in areas where it's really, really hard to dodge them. Like if you're getting to the point where you can like run up that spiral staircase there, like there's not much you can do, especially if there's one behind you and one in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Like one of them gonna get you.
Yeah.
Now, getting into, I guess, the narrative of this area, are these guys servants of Velka, the goddess of sin, who is known to be represented by a crow, or is this some kind of weird, just twisted demon thing?
My take is that they're servants.
Yeah. Think about like chaos servants, like the people who like willingly go to the demon ruins in Lost Izalith to get infected with the with the larvae. Like I see this as being something similar, right? Like people who sought out the Painted World in order to become this thing. I don't know by what mechanism, but that just kind of seems nice and pat for me.
Open your cloaca.
Yes.
Yeah. Waka, waka, waka. Yeah, I mean, I'll take that. And in either way, I'm pretty sure that they're like, anytime I see a crow, it's so intentional that like Velka, Velka, Velka. Like, I don't see any reason not to associate anything that's a crow with Velka. You know,
right? And
otherwise, they would choose another bird. Like,
yeah. And there's more Velka later on.
Oh yeah, in a big bad way.
Yeah.
We run into some albino rats in the basement here, which act a lot like regular rats. Like they just kind of run away from you. But the more biggest, most noteworthy thing is you also run into the painting guardian armor, which is like really good for light poisonous armor.
So good.
Like it's excellent. It has really good magic resist. And then B, like what I realize that they guard the painting. Is it just an associative thing? Are the painted guardians the people who are going through this terrible transformation that we totally pulled out of our asses into Velka servants? Who knows? But
They're definitely. I don't know. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, nothing.
So you end up the kind of centerpiece of this level is this big spiral kind of castle thing, and which is interesting. Making your way through this. So on one end there's a bridge, which has a huge undead dragon at the end, and it's a little frustrating that they reused him, but I feel like this is the more like appropriate boss arena for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because mechanically, there are places where you can distract him to. So, like if you get him to do his poison vomit to the left, you can hit him in the center, and then he goes to the center. You can attack him from the right. It feels like an appropriate mini boss. Whereas in the Valley of the Drakes, it really feels like an ambush.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I mean, they're serving different purposes. Like this one is a mini boss, and that one is a trap.
Right.
But I love the way that he pulls himself forward and pulls off his torso.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Drags behind him. Like it happens earlier too, but it's worth bringing up that's awesome.
Right.
And as you're, I guess, going to grab the loot bait, like there's all these like signs that like, oh shit, he's coming to life. Oh shit, there goes the wing. Oh god, here he comes.
Yeah.
What's weird is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gary.
No.
What's weird is, you pick up the blood shield, which is one of the better poison resist shields in the game. So if somebody who had this, they wouldn't have died to him, likely.
Yeah. Well, you use it for Priscilla.
Oh yeah.
Like it's the bleed. It's poison resist, but the biggest thing it has is bleed resist.
Okay.
So it's essential if you want to use Priscilla's weapon, like the boss weapon you can get from her, and really useful in the boss fight. So again, showing the way that like Dark Souls, it doesn't directly hold your hand, but in almost every area you're going to get something very useful for it. The same way you get the spider shield right before going into Blighttown.
Right.
You get the blood bite shield right before you get ready to fight the boss whose twin concepts are invisibility and bleed.
Right.
So
is it worth noting here that you can actually there's a shortcut after you beat this dragon to like directly the fog door for Priscilla?
Yeah, and there's some debate as to whether this is intentional or not. Like if you do a jumping strong attack against the lower half of this dragon, it will stand up and you can move onto the bridge under it. And the reason why people think that it's maybe not intentional is because like one, it just kind of stands stock straight up in a really goofy kind of way, but two, they reuse the dragon butt in the demon ruins or in Lost Izalith. And they think that maybe it's just reacting. It's like some kind of bit of code associated with the object to react to being attacked in a certain way.
I mean, you're also skipping a fog door here because I think there's a fog door to the bridge.
Yeah, there's a fog door from the spiral staircase into the courtyard.
Yeah, you're skipping a lot this way. Like if you do it this way, I mean, and that's in a way it's a really good thing because if you got in here on accident. This is the only boss that you meet without having to kill in the game. So I mean, you can get to the beginning to the end fairly easily, and just leave if you decide this is not your cup of tea.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But instead, we will go back into the gigantic curved structure.
Yes.
Do we just to get us a little bit farther back into that first like sort of dilapidated house?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys pick up the crazy egg cure thing in there?
Oh yeah, the egg vermifuge. Yeah, you have to do some tricky platforming to get up there.
Yeah, that's just such an odd item to be there, I guess.
Yeah, it's not very useful. Like the
Right.
one if you get egg status, which is hard to do. Like you have to try to get egg status. You're doing it because you want Ingi to sell you pyromancies. So and that cures you. He gives you a cure. So like there's no reason to farm these things. It is really weird, and I can't think of a lore reason why that's there.
Except if the eggs and kind of the Chaos Servant stuff was seen as heresy by Gwyn's court or whatever, or whoever commissioned this. So it's kind of like, let's just throw everything in there.
Yeah.
This nut is heresy. Give it a doll.
Give it a doll.
Gwyn's just like giving dolls out like left and right. He's gone mad. He's just like floating from a balloon, throwing out dolls onto his people. And somebody just turns to the camera and is like, the Age of Dark can't start soon enough.
Wave to the people.
It's like a Ziggy comic with Dark Souls characters like, call me crazy.
Call me crazy, but we don't need this many dolls.
Siggy. Siggy.
Sigmire, Siglind.
Yeah.
Siggy.
Yeah, that's a good Siggy. Like somebody draw that. That's a good idea for a comic.
He's roughly Ziggy shaped.
Yeah, he's like he's like 2 Ziggy heights and 1 Ziggy width.
but yeah, you can jump up on the rafters and get that thing.
Yeah. Going to the top of the spiral thing, you find some you fight a bunch of these servants of Velka, and you get one of the more interesting PvP items that I don't think is used very often, but I like the concept of it a lot.
It's so great. So the description says that it's used by dark wraiths who wish to remain honorable, so that they're not forcing themselves upon people, their worlds, but they're leaving that there, saying like, "Hey, if you want to fight, here's this thing." It's the red soapstone.
You know, it's a missed opportunity there would be having Kirk drop one of those, since he's supposed to be like the good dark wraith you run into. So
yeah.
Have you encountered any of those signs ever?
No.
Oh.
Yep, same here.
Yeah. Nobody uses it because it's not about trolling people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it doesn't work well or something. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's like grave lording.
We'll have to ask. We have a little bit later. Probably in about a month, we have somebody who's done a lot of PvP. We're going to have on an appendix episode to give us kind of a tutorial on it, and we'll have to remember to ask him.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I forget that this exists until I get it. And it's kind of like, oh, that's neat. And then I pocket it and then go about my business.
At the bottom of this, you can go back into the courtyard there, which you have to do to progress. And you run into, probably the second most obvious Demon Souls reference
right
in this area in the way of the Phalanx, which is very similar to the first boss in Demon Souls.
Right.
And named the same.
Yeah, similar. They spell and pronounce their names the same.
Yeah.
And the way this thing creaks into life is so great and creepy. Like, and they're protecting a statue of Velka. Like they are all huddled around one.
Is it Velka for sure?
That's what I've read. I don't know what says it, but that's what I've read. Is that's Velka?
Okay.
I've never gotten a good enough look. I was curious enough to see, but her entire head is covered in snow in the cutscene when you pull the lever to exit there. So yeah, I would believe that as much as anything.
Yeah.
When we're talking about kind of the set dressing here, it's worth noting that early in development, the Painted World was actually intended to be Nito's domain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like instead of the catacombs, this was, you were supposed to go here. But they instead of getting rid of it entirely, they said, okay, we're going to make this optional along with this entire other deity that we made optional.
Right. And we don't know when that happened in development.
Right.
So the Phalanx is when I first played through this, and I had my pretty serious Great Chaos Fireball. I spent a lot of time farming on these guys.
Yeah.
There's a full run. You kill all of them, you get 4,000 souls, and you can kill all of them with like an area effect spell like that pretty easily.
Yeah.
My first run through was a melee only, and not as easy.
Yeah.
They're tough. They're tough because they're all faced out, and you can't get behind them too easily. And their shields, much like the phalanxes of yore.
I like the phalanx, like the SNES phalanx.
Yes. Was that the one with the hillbilly on the front?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know. That's just a shooter game, but that's the cover will make it live in infamy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But my favorite part about this general area, before you kind of go down in the basement, which is really tough, is if you go off to your left, two important things happen here. So, like, one, if you're human, you get an NPC invader, which I really love, but I'll talk in 1 second. The area itself I love, though, because it's all of these cages that are on the ground, broken with corpses out of them. And I get the impression that, like, when something gets teleported to the Painted World through, like, their banishment method, it falls from the sky. Like, I have this idea of, heretics and such being put in these cages and then just getting dropped into this world from the ether, landing, dying, and having their cages smash open in this kind of field over here. And they're all heroes. Like, they're all hero souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, they're not all heroes. That's too much. They're all, I think they're renowned soldiers.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But they're high-level souls through these just kind of dead soldiers that are just dropped on the ground. And they're clearly have been dropped. Like, they're broken open. The chains are broken. My imagination filled in that, like, them kind of falling from the sky bit. But that's kind of what I put together by looking at the environment, and I really like it.
So,
and then somebody puts them on spikes on top of that. So
yeah, indignity upon indignity.
Right.
Yeah, in the Painted World.
So I saw this as two different things. Either they were brought there on, in cages, or they were brought there and then put on spikes. Like
it could be both.
Crucified
like people,
on these pikes. Yeah.
Some people are brought on cages, some are brought on spikes, because not everyone is on a spike either.
Right.
So I mean, it's clearly both.
Yeah. Or they were put on the spikes alive and they got off, and then they died trying to crawl to the
crawl
cliff.
away. Yeah. Also cool.
To end it quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, but then at some point you're going to hear this telltale invasion sound, and you get invaded by probably the most obvious Demon Souls reference in this area, Xanthus King Jeremiah. Xanthus, which means yellow.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I always mistakenly refer to him as Xanthus King Jeremy.
That's what his friends call him.
Yeah, the Pearl Jam wrote that song about him. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, Xanthus King Jeremy.
That video was fucked up. But
I mean, this is probably a really neat reference to Demon Souls, and probably one of the cooler boss fights in Demon Souls.
Oh, I love that boss fight in Demon Souls. And just the set that he comes from, and that is really cool. And it suggests this kind of interconnectedness between the worlds that even the developers deny. But in my brain, the fact that this is here, and it would be in this like kind of banished dimension, I really like it, because we know that Xanthus King Jeremiah is not invading from like another area, because we find his stuff later if we kill him. So he's associated with this area, and it just suggests like these far off. You're kind of on this island. Maybe there's a whole kingdom, on the other side of this painting, and this is the king of it and everything. And it's just that's just it. It gives me just enough to get me fired up without spelling anything out.
Yeah.
And this is a really tough fight, actually.
Yeah, yeah. He's a really, as opposed to most like PvP things, like he's not a melee. He's a really strong pyromancer.
Yeah.
That area effect can one shot you pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And the terrain is just not conducive for you to move around easily. Like, it's all ledgy and not very good for platforming.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have trouble circle strafing him, and God forbid you get like in the center of his AOE. What is that? Is that a chaos fireball that he throws that puts up the lava there? Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, well, the chaos fireball like puts lava, but he does like a firestorm attack, which I can't remember the name of.
Yeah,
and he's clearly also the king in yellow. We didn't say it out loud; it's in the notes. But in the original Demon Souls, it's a reference to the old monk is a reference to the king of yellow, king in yellow. An avatar of Hastur and blah blah blah, dorky Cthulhu mythos stuff that nobody but me cares about. So
I put it in the notes, man. I know.
I like Cthulhu too.
Yeah, I maintain one of the coolest Google image searches you can do is for the King in Yellow.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of really kind of badass and in like a 70s prog album cover way pictures of the King in Yellow as an entity. And you get 40,000 souls for killing him.
So many, and I lost all of them this playthrough.
Oh no! Just go back to the bonfire, man. You're right there.
But I was saving them. What I wanted to do, I wanted to take them back down to Blighttown to buy a bunch of pyromancies that I had yet to get. Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow because that's a lot of souls.
That is a bunch of souls. That's like where I was in this playthrough. That's like 3 level ups.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
I also fun PvP story. One of my first couple of invaders was someone wearing this armor set, and I was like, "What the? There's a giant dick on my screen. Is this a hacker?"
Be careful comparing anything to anything phallic on this show, Murph.
Yeah, I know. What does that say about you, Murph?
I just gonna warn you there.
You and Cole seeing dildos everywhere. Last sane man on earth. One of the cool things about this too is if you wear it, it's a real commitment to looking like a goof because it hinders your visibility
so
in a serious way.
Yeah. and the weapon he drops, the whip.
Yeah.
I picked it up and I was like, oh man, it's a whip. This is gonna be awesome. And like I go to backstab like just a regular hollow. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah. There were people in the Something Awful thread talking about trying to do a Belmont run, and everybody's like, "Nope, not going to do that."
Yeah, I've seen it, and I did for Sexy Party Solaire. I ran down and got the whip from Blighttown, and it's terrible. And this whip is only marginally better. And then the whip that is incredibly difficult to get from the DLC that you get at like level 80 is only marginally better than this.
Right.
Like there are no good whips in this game.
So you take out what's his name? Jeremiah. There we go.
Yeah. Jeremy has spoken class earlier today, and it's time to. That.
Yes,
couldn't go for the bullfrog
with.
Yeah, child of the 80s and 90s respectively. So
But you pop his unpopped zit head. Or I guess more of a skin tag. I don't even know. It's weird. It is really, really weird. And the courtyard is mostly yours. And there is a ladder down into a very, very dark Tomb of the Giants dark actually area that has one of the most annoying enemies in the game. Am I safe in saying that?
Oh yeah,
definitely top. You know, there's a list of 2, and he's on it.
Top 2. Who are you giving it number 1?
Oh, it's archers.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, these things suck. And this is probably the first time you're going to encounter them unless you kind of sequence broke and went down to the catacombs early. And that's not really sequence breaking, but we'll talk about how the weird place the catacombs holds in the sequence when we get to that episode.
Yeah.
And I just want, like, even in the catacombs, they're not as, I guess, quite as egregious because there's room to maneuver and like dodge in the catacombs.
They're trapping you here, and the darkness is actually more like your lock-on distance is reduced here. Like, and I've tested this. Like, your lock-on distance is not as far as it is in other areas in the game, and they are quieter up until they get closer to you. Like these are like 100% traps.
Right.
Like these are them springing themselves from the darkness to gotcha.
And like once they get you, you're got.
You get got. It's like, it's the liberal news media. All those gotcha skeletons. Yeah.
Like, what was the last magazine you read?
Is it true that you would say that you're not a rapist?
When did you stop beating your wife?
Skeleton journalism.
Skeleton. Well, yeah, it's like walking into a wheat thresher.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your arm. Pa's going to lose the farm. You know, it's just like you're going to try paying for your medical bills.
These things. I texted you about this when I first ran into these things. And I was just like, what do I do? Like, what do you get? How do you get away from them? Because at that point, my only defensive vocabulary was to block.
Yeah. Oh no.
Right? And that's a big mistake because these things are going to wear down your endurance like nothing. So it's like This is, you need to learn to dodge. There's really no way around it.
It's not even like learn to dodge. So it's a weird kind of contradiction where you're used to being like, okay, wide open areas, good, you can dodge better. But in this case, it's actually easier to fight them in the narrow corridors because you can like bait them to running to one side, and they're only going to be coming from one direction. When you get into the portion of the cellar where they're coming from like fuck all everywhere, then that's a problem. But with most of them, it's kind of like you run at them, but at a slightly oblique angle to where they're coming from, and then you're fine.
See, I actually had the opposite experience.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. I found them much easier in the open area where I could like just pull one of them at a time and then like dodge that one attack and then like run up and just smash them completely and then move on. Like in the corridors, I was just fucked.
Yeah.
It was just like run and hope to get to that key.
Especially once I realized how many there were in that open area. So like if they're not taking me by surprise, that open area was no problem. They do have tracking. So like to Cole's point, if you're in a big open area and you're just trying to kind of semicircle around them, they are going to home in on you pretty well. Yeah.
And I mean, even if there were two attacking me, it's like game over. Like, you might be better than Dark Souls. You're like, oh, you baby, you can't take on two wheel skeletons.
Yeah. And you know what? None of these fuckers have ever dropped one of their shields for me.
Oh yeah. Like
there's a shield.
Yeah. You just use their wheel, and it's awesome. Your R2 attack turns into you holding it out and spinning it, and it hits like 3 times. It's really cool looking. I watched a speed run that was a really convoluted, where it was shield only speed run.
Jeez.
So like you can only attack with a shield, and he went down to the catacombs and just lucked out and happened to get one of these and set the world record because he got one of these in the first 15 minutes of the game.
Wow. Yeah, that's up there with the Baldur side sword and the the Channeler's Trident.
Yeah,
or the Titanite catchpole. Any of those kind of upper tier enemy weapons. That's just kind of like, good luck, 1 in 256. Why not?
Yeah, pink tails.
Huh.
Yeah,
because I've always gotten every run through Baldur side sword.
God damn it, everybody, every single one.
Even the Dex one, where I was actually intending on using it.
Yep. Random numbers are a bitch, but so these guys, are pretty, and it's a effective set piece, right? Like you're going through the dark; these things could start coming at you at any point. Like it's pretty tension inducing. I really like it. The big reasons why we're here is if we're going down the critical path, we are turning a switch which makes Velka's statue turn around and open up the gates that lead to the emboss. But if you investigate some illusionary walls down here, you also find the annex key, the most blandly named key in the game. Like it sounds like it's like the bar, my hometown, the bar we always used to go to was called. There was Lord Stanley's, and then there was Lord Stanley's Annex, and we always used to go to the Annex. But it's such a way of naming something like, oh, use conference room, 2F. Conference room 2 is busy. Like it's such a bland naming convention.
I think I went to when we ran out of a room at our school, and there was like an annex of trailers. Mm-hmm. That's where they shunted us.
Yeah, this is where the Painted World shunts its additional, extra excess stuff.
Yeah,
just us and the wheel skeletons all day long.
But it's actually where they shunt their most valuable things.
Yes. This is all the it's the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, secret stuff. So you go there. It's just another couple of buildings, but it's most notable for what you find there. This is where you get Velka's gear,
right.
Which is the same stuff the partner wears. You run into in the Bell Gargoyle Tower.
Yeah, Oswald.
Yeah, Oswald. Velka's rapier, which scales with intelligence, which is pretty neat. And I think this is either, do you get the talisman here or do you buy it? No, you buy it from him.
Yeah, you buy it.
But an interesting bit of Velka thing is it's a talisman that scales with intelligence. So if you want to make a combination, a caster, a wizard character that also uses some faith, you can really hit hard with those offensive faith spells with this thing.
Yeah.
I've never done it. It'd be fun to do like a magic only character who dipped into all 3 disciplines.
Yeah, that kind of pairs nicely with what is it, Gwendolyn's talisman, the Dark Sun catalyst, where it casts from faith instead of intelligence.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, Which, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to draw extrapolations here, but given that the Dark Moons were supposed to be Velka's, what is that, faction anyway?
Mm-hmm.
You know, connections.
Interesting thing about so there is definitive proof that there used to be a Velka covenant, and the what is it? The spell Karmic Justice, which is the one that the partner sells you, used to be a ring.
Yeah.
And that you would get for joining her covenant, which it would work way better as a ring.
Yeah, because it's like a buff, right?
It's what happens is if you take enough hits, you explode into a big kind of Wrath of God style explosion. So it doesn't last that long. People have made really good use of it via PvP. I've watched a couple of excellent videos.
EC on the forums, he's done a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can do cool things with it, but it doesn't have a huge duration, is my understanding, would be one issue with it. And you have to be able to take all those hits.
Yeah.
But having it as a ring, like every time you're surrounded by hollows, each one's hitting you for a little bit of damage. Eventually, you're just going to blow up and kill all of them.
Oh yeah.
And it'd be really badass.
Mm-hmm.
Did we also mention that Vow of Silence, another spell that associated with Velka, is found here?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have not mentioned it, but that is a thing that you find here.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much a PvP spell because it prevents magic from being casted. I don't know. I've never actually tried to use it.
Yeah, it's like Lloyd's Talisman, except for miracles and spells.
I wonder if it works on channelers.
Oh yeah, I'd be curious.
Yeah, I mean it's not that useful. Like channeler spells are rarely that big a deal, but I imagine it would almost have to work, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure someone has tried it at some point.
It'd be useful to come here before Dukes in any case. So
yeah.
See, there's no channelers in here, which I find actually a little bit surprising.
Disturbing.
Yeah, at this point, it's just when they're not around that's weird.
Well,
you would think that Seath would want to send some of his agents here to check out his daughter, right?
Yeah, well, maybe if indeed, I mean, maybe he can't get them in.
Oh yeah.
But the kind of the biggest lore thing that ties a lot of this stuff together, though, that you find is the Dark Ember.
Yeah.
Which similar to the Divine Ember is in a statue of a blacksmith found there, and the Dark Ember creates occult weapons, which from a gameplay perspective are absolute trash, but from a lore perspective are really cool because they are the weapons that kill the gods. That are meant to hunt the gods.
Mm. Right. So is, I guess, going back to this podcast's favorite fan theory involving Haster and or not Haster,
Havel.
Havel, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys think that he actually made it into the Painted World, or do you think the Dark Ember came out of that before, or what?
Like if I had to pull a chronology out of my ass, would maybe be it was banished here as a result. Like he got a hold of it, and Gwyn as kind of twin actions, banished the Ember to this world, and then couldn't kill his friend, so locked him up in the tower.
Okay. Couldn't give him a doll?
Yeah. no doll.
No doll for you. Yeah.
That's just becomes like this huge or crazy euphemism in Enter Londo. Oh, did you hear he got a doll?
Yeah. Poor guy.
Man, he got dolled. Donnie got dolled, man.
He got all dolled up.
Got invited to a tea party.
The way that I saw it. The way that I saw it was that they couldn't have possibly gotten rid of every single occult weapon that was made with this thing. So that was just one of the ones that Havel had taken and stowed away before it was put away, just in case he needed to go after his buddies.
They're all all the dead blacksmiths are statues. But I watched this on YouTube because I could not bring myself to kill the blacksmiths in my game. They don't turn into statues when you kill them. Yeah, Andre and the giant and the bony guy that we'll meet later.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I don't know why they're statues. I don't know necessarily why that would be.
I didn't read this one as a blacksmith. I saw it as a huddled figure like the furtive pygmy in the opening.
I think it's the same sculpture though that's holding the Divine Ember, and that one has a anvil and a hammer and stuff by it.
Yeah.
So the reason why I read it as blacksmith is because it looks like the same guy.
Okay.
I think Andre also makes reference to being there's a blacksmith in the Darkroot Gardens.
I know little of the Darkroot Garden, although I've heard rumors of a divine blacksmith who resides there. Those who get stumped in the catacombs seek him for divine weapons.
Yeah.
I think he has some line of dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably worth looking into.
Yeah.
But of course, like Gwyn would want to, an ember made specifically for killing the gods. He would definitely want to banish to a prison planet. Much like if there was some kind of item that was specifically made for killing people, we'd probably want to, regulate it or banish it, right?
Exactly.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah,
right?
no, in any sane world, people would really be concerned about
any
this
sane
issue.
world, like something that was specifically designed to kill people would probably be...
Background checks on occult weapons?
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, and... Yeah. So
Politics.
I just got sad.
Yeah. I'm sad. There's no reason to worry about it. This is a peaceful world, and its inhabitants are kind.
In no way is this a terrifying existence that we lead.
Yeah.
That is just one rice and envelope or marathon bombing away from just a cruel and brutal end.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Rare that we get political.
Yeah.
So can we, before we fight the boss, because let's just kind of any stray thoughts on Velka? So my thought is Velka is here, right? Like Velka has been banished because. So boy, I'm not going to present this in a good order, but the she can operate from outside of the world. Like a lot of her accoutrements are here. She may be banished here, and the reason why she is helping you is to punish Gwyn for refusing for trying to rekindle the first flame and trying to maintain this age of fire, and the kind of moral sacrifices he has made in game and out of game to do so.
So is she an agent of the dark?
No, I think she's just an agent of justice.
Okay.
So it's just the concept of he is wrong and must be punished.
See, I follow everything you're saying, about what she's doing, but I don't really see any evidence that she herself is there.
You're probably right. She could not be there as well. But I guess all of her accoutrements are there. I don't think she's the crow. I don't like that as a thing.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. We just never meet her.
Maybe she, like the rest of the gods, abandoned this place, and it's just her servants, the remnants of her servants who were brought here as kind of okay, don't try and bring her back kind of thing. I don't like the idea that the painting guardians are servants of Velka. Just because they're outside and trying to keep people from getting in or getting out.
I don't think they are either. I think there's kind of two different, things at work here. There's the idea of Gwyn banishing things that are dangerous to him, and then there's the idea of Velka, in general, that kind of association. The fact that so many of things of hers that are there suggests that she is dangerous to him. Yeah, and her accessories. So Velka and Velka accessories.
Another thought. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say maybe it's not Gwen who's banishing things here. It's what's his son?
Gwendolyn.
Maybe it's Gwendolyn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Who would Velka have more of an issue with? The person who sacrificed himself to blah blah blah, Gwyn, everything, etc., or the person who put on this grand masquerade in order to throw every single person that was close to him under the bus? The person who's more of a transgressor here is probably Gwendolyn than Gwyn.
Well, the idea being that Velka springs you from the pokey in order to punish Gwendolyn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, possibly. And it's kind of that's kind of bravely subversive in that, that ultimate gambit that sets off you escaping the thing. And there's a lot more to that, right? So there's you escaping, so who in that mythology, who is creating this prophecy? Who's spreading rumors about that? Who's created that as a thing? Gwyn? Because he wants someone to come succeed him? At the flame?
Maybe I would actually venture to say Framped.
And they're buddies, so we know that they're but then he shows up in the fucking dark ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real spider web kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could see the I always tied her bringing you out of the asylum with your grander purpose. You know, the idea of you accomplishing the reason why she gets you out halfway through the game, I kind of like that in a subversive way, but it flies against like my narrative instincts. You know, but I mean, it's a complicated narrative. Like that doesn't invalidate it.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I'm just supposing like just you being introduced into the Lordran ecosystem doesn't have to serve one or the other. It just has to be like, hey, here's this new.
And a lot of people are trying to get their fingers in that pie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the one piece of like, not evidence, because I mean, that's a strong word for everything we're talking about. But the one thing that maybe contradicts her going against Gwendolyn is the fact that there's a lot of overlap there, right? Like the Dark Moons punish people based on their amount of sin. The Book of Sin is an artifact of Velka. Like Velka's the one who tracks the people with the sin, and Gwendolyn is the one who is, enforcing that.
Maybe Gwendolyn saw that Velka was the real mover and the shaker here, and wanted to try and edge her out of the business.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I'm literally pulling stuff out of my ass like a clown's handkerchief here, but
Oh Lord.
Yeah. I mean, like I like this idea. Like personally, there's when you have all these different possibilities, I think that you kind of choose the one that you end up liking the most, like just the one that like fits your narrative proclivities the most. And I like this idea of Velka getting, kind of punishing, being a blind servant of justice, kind of regardless of whether it serves good or ill.
Yeah.
Just the guilty must be punished.
She's Batman.
Well, she's Crowman or Raven Man. Yeah.
Crow Woman.
Yeah. Lawful stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Exactly. Awful stupid. Who knows? And people will write in and correct us on this stuff.
Please do, because like the crazy lore shit is like what we eat up. That is our that is our fare here.
To be fair, if it sounds like we're floundering more than usual on this stuff, like the guy, my favorite lore meister for this, that Vetavidya guy who does the Prepare to Cry, the entry he has on Velka is called Prepare to Why, and because like he doesn't, he can't come to a conclusion on it either. And he's thought about it more than I have, and is probably a smarter dude than I am. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Do we want to question Priscilla's parenthood now?
Yeah. So Priscilla's a half breed. She's half dragon, half.
Half what? Well, she's big. Dragons are big, but so are gods. The theory that I've heard bandied about the most is Seath and Guinevere, but not quite. It would make sense that if they're like, for some reason, a dragon / god halfling seems more profane than a dragon / human. So if you're looking at the court of gods, the possible mothers narrow down significantly, right?
I have a top 6.
All right, so we can all agree Seath is probably the father, right?
Yeah.
Priscilla is pale and albino and stuff. Lay your top 6 on us in like Tonight Show style, 6-to-1 order.
All right,
ascending order.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go with number 1, Seath. Just obviously she's a half dragon, and he's the only dragon that's probably not undead. And also she can turn invisible, which is something that the crystals can do in the Crystal Cave.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Noticeably. Then I'll go Velka, just because it's a you actually gain a sin when you kill her.
Oh yeah.
So also the presence of all the stuff there and the birds, blah blah blah. Then Guinevere, just because it's in the painting is in a temple of Guinevere.
Yep.
And it kind of fits, Gwyn, and kind of say, hey, here's my daughter, dragon dude. Here's the princess in a stereotypical, fashion. Then, what's the god, the moon guy again?
Gwendolyn.
Guinevere. Or Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn.
Whenever we say one, just assume we mean the other.
Right. That guy. So I'm gonna put him in there just because, gods kind of transcend gender. So it could be Seath and Moon God. Because
he's a big mess of tentacles. Like he's like the villain from The Little Mermaid when it comes to crouch down. Like he's essentially Ursula the Land Witch.
Yeah.
Land Witch.
And I mean, that's just because the paintings near him, we see painted guardians, blah, blah, blah. And then, now here's where it gets a little crazy.
Oh, no.
Number 5, I'm going with Solaire.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute.
Now, hear me out.
So the dragon side is still Seath?
Still Seath. This is Seath x Solaire.
Okay.
And the only reason is because we know
I'm rock
Solaire
hard.
would,
Continue.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to my pulse.
Yes.
Cursed penis.
And this is just weak because Solaire, we think he might have been Gwen's son, lost son, right? Maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
And he was banished for something. Maybe, I don't know. This is completely tenuous. And then my last one is Artemis, the forest cat, right? Just because she has a long fuzzy tail.
Oh yeah.
And that's the only reason for my 6.
Very good.
I could believe any one of those.
I believe them in successively less strength as they go. Guinevere is probably pretty likely. You know, like I don't see any reason to. We don't have proof, but it's not going to. I mean, it's probably not going to be like somebody who just wasn't pictured in the game, right? Like that would be weak.
I mean, yeah. Maybe, I mean, technically she's not in the game. Haha.
Right. And we know that she has a bow because she goes off with that fire god, whose name I can't remember.
I don't think is he mentioned at all?
He's mentioned in one of her items, but we never see him.
So Gary, earlier you mentioned that Priscilla was going to have like a larger presence in the game. Like, what is that? Because that might elucidate something for us.
Nothing other than that. That one, well, she was not aggressive. Mm-hmm. Was original like at all. Like she was a helpful figure and had a larger role. Okay. So that's all I've read. Like I don't, I don't know if how far it got and whether there was more than that. And I feel like some of that might be from the art book, which is only in Japanese, and it's really expensive. I haven't gotten to that level of crazy Dark Souls fandom.
You're about 2 months out.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to take a couple more playthroughs. Like if I beat this Shieldless in the Soul Level 1 run, I'm going to run out of things to do with my life and need to start saving up for that thing. But yeah, so I mean, it's hearsay of that. Like I don't have the original source for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. But we know that this is considered an abomination. Like that word's thrown around. Like, and that she has great power. Like she has this power that is dangerous to the gods.
That's Life Hunt, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is different from the 4 kings, which have
Life Drain.
Yes.
Or Life Steal. There's like, yeah. So it's a different kind of power that she's imbued with. And it's really just bleed. Like it's the same power that those fucking thieves have in the lower Undead Burg. Like,
my God,
they get banished. Like it's the power of bleed. But we should talk a little bit about like this little bridge on your way up there. It's full of kind of annoyances and stuff. But I want to get on and talk about this boss fight and all of the things that are kind of unusual and wonderful about how it begins and
right.
Continues.
Yeah. So you find so there are more pirate hollows here, but you also find a Berenike Knight. So this is one of presumably one of Tarkus's buddies who got further than he did.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least somebody from Berenike. We don't know why he's there. Exactly, but it's one of 3. In the game other than Tarkus.
Right.
So,
but is there anything more to say about that run up than that?
I mean, yeah,
it's a hard fight because it's just so narrow. But other than that,
yeah. Well, it's funny because like if you proceed, like they come up the pirate ones come up behind you, far behind where you would think they would, so you won't see them until you're just fighting that Berenike Knight, and they're just there for some reason.
Yeah,
I've died so many times to those guys without knowing why they were there.
Like. On subsequent playthroughs, I have just run past the knight and just gotten through the fog door, and because Priscilla doesn't aggro, you can actually beat him through the fog door.
Oh yeah. You could use hovel.
Getting cheat.
Yeah. And usually, I mean, if you die a couple of times on this, then you want to just make that run.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, especially if you lose all your souls, you have nothing to lose. That's when I stop being careful usually.
Right.
So it says, I mean, this boss fight is really unusual in a lot of ways, not least of which because she's non-aggressive and because she speaks to you.
Yeah.
Who art thou? One of us thou art not. If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou seekest I, thine desires shall be requited not. Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong.
You know, and the dialogue, which I mean, we made fun of it a couple of times, but this whole bit of like, why are you here? What do you seek? You know, what do you want to plunder? There's nothing here for you. We're a peaceful people. Like, I don't want to think, I mean, that's definitely not the case, but I like the idea of her just being, clueless about it, like having this perception.
Let me throw another patented Murph crazy theory at you.
All right.
So this when she says this land is peaceful, maybe she's not referring to the latter half that you just got to. Maybe there's like something like underneath or inaccessible or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Like there's some magical tea party like going on.
The kingdom that Xanthus King Jeremiah rules over. It's also, and I just thought of this just now, another kind of Demon Souls thing, because when you run into Garl Vinland and what's her head in Demon Souls, she has very similar dialogue. Like she's just, there's nothing for you to plunder here. There's no reason for you to be here. Like it's very similar.
Yeah. As the undead babies gnarl at you. Oh god.
Yeah, that scene's amazing. Like those things are hard. I love that boss fight.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her specific line, which is, "This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong." Which means there is something inherent to you that is abhorrent to anybody who has been killing you so far. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, you are the invader here.
Yeah.
Like you are the and you have to seek it out. Like you are the invader, and you are the invader in game terms as well, because it's something you don't have to do.
Right. Like
you come here to kill and plunder and get treasure. And I mean, you can get there by mistake, but you can get through a lot of it without killing anything. Specifically her.
Is this the Spec Ops The Line of Dark Souls?
If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, because it's Dark Souls, we're going to fight her.
Gonna fucking swing a sword at that shit.
Yeah. Have either of you guys got her tail? I've never been able to pull that off.
No. I did once, and do you want to know how I did it?
How'd you do it?
I started from the back, and I used the white dragon breath spell.
Oh wow!
And I not intentionally at all, and it just worked.
Huh.
You get a dagger with the kind of life hunt ability that I think has the highest bleed rating in the game.
Yeah. It's like the life hunt scythe, except in dagger form.
And without the downside of the life hunt scythe. When you kill Priscilla, you can make her scythe, which inflicts heavy bleed, but also inflicts slightly less bleed on you.
Right.
So you have to wear like tons of bleed-resistant gear. The biggest thing, though, is when you attack her, and this was, again, like I always talk about these Dark Souls moments where I'm just like, no, like I can't do this. Like my jaw dropped. Like I attacked her, and she turns invisible, and you can't lock on. There's no life bar. Yeah. Like she's gone, and you have to kind of figure it out. And it's it's so succinct. Like the trick to this is so like just a perfect little element of gameplay. This boss has it's so good. Like the boss has a really strong concept, like a one-line premise. Like it is invisible, and you have to track it through this area that is half covered with snow.
Right. So
it's about managing where you think she might be, luring her into areas where you can see her, spotting what her footprints will do before she attacks. And preparing it. Like I love this boss fight. Like I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Of this.
Did either of you find it really easy? Like most times that you tried it?
It's not particularly hard once you get the trick.
Right.
The first time it was really hard for me.
Oh yeah. I died almost immediately. I was like, and I held still like a dumbass and got bled almost immediately.
Yeah.
I find, like, having gone through it like a bunch of times now, like I find it's really build dependent. So like the playthrough I did for this episode with my guy with no shield, but like my ridiculous like plus 13 or plus 14 demon great axe, it was a breeze because I just had to attack her once and it would break her poise and she'd turn visible. You know, so like I attack her once, she turns invisible. I get one attack off, she'll turn visible, do her snowstorm attack. Like she doesn't have a very like wide vocabulary of things she can do. No. So if you can break her poise, like she's pretty easy. With my character, like my poiseless character that was doing a lot of like really fast attacks that didn't do very much damage, I had a much harder time because you can only get in a couple attacks before she swings through, would break my poise, and that character didn't have very much vitality, so it was really easy to get seriously hurt from her.
This is probably one of the few bosses that a magic heavy character will not find easier.
Yeah.
Right.
And
this was kind of the fulcrum where like when I did my sorcery playthrough, it was like the first half of the game was really simple and the second half was really hard. And yeah.
Yeah. Since you can't lock, my strategy when I when I'm panicking is to just slash as much as I can, which actually benefits you in this area, unlike most other places in the game.
The fact that you hadn't learned your lesson by this point.
Yeah, yeah. That definitely. I don't know. I mean, just.
Is she parry? Can you parry her? Like, I know she's invisible, so I'm sure it's ridiculous, but
I don't think so. Okay. I feel like I probably would have seen a YouTube of that.
I think she's too big, maybe.
Yeah, she might be a size category too big, and she's two-handing her weapon and stuff, so it might break through that.
Yeah.
But,
but yeah, you kill her, and she says,
"But why? What seeketh thee? Why could thou not let us be? Didst thou not see why Ariamis created this world?"
Like, why are you here?
Yeah, and it's such a good question for like the character and the player. Yeah. You know, like for an optional thing, like, you know, it's one of those, again, like that Spec Ops thing. And we can't talk too much about Spec Ops because Kole hasn't played it yet. But like, you know, the play as I know he's going to do it, and we're going to do like a bonus level about it. So
okay,
don't you worry because I've been putting pressure on him to play it. But it is.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm derailing, so go ahead.
I was just going to say the intersection between what she's saying to your character and talking directly to the player is something that I always appreciate in video games. BioShock, Hotline Miami. Like anytime that happens, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, but it's a wonderful combination of motives, which is like I wasn't brought here by my will. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, just if you're following the narrative of the game, it's like, oh, I had this doll, I checked this thing, oh boy, I'm sucked in. She gives you the option out, but you have no reason to trust anything in this world whatsoever.
Well, I think that I would trust her that I can leave. It's more about like, I've come this far, I want to see this cool boss fight.
Yeah.
Like why I did it. It wasn't that I didn't trust her. Like the fact that she didn't attack me and would talk to me and I could keep talking to her. Like I didn't think she was going to stab me in the back or anything when I left.
So if you didn't decide to jump off that plank, and leave her be, and you can just circle back through however many times you want. She'll just stand there in the center of that little alcove.
Yeah.
You can find the Xanthus set over to the left, and then you can just jump off a leap of faith that takes you back to the real world.
Yep. And kind of perversely, a homeward bone will bring you back to the Painted World, and you have to go through the entirety of that room with all the painting guardians and get to a bonfire, or you might lose all of those souls. But that's the Painted World, which is cut off from the rest of the game in every way, but I really like it because of that. Like I really like the play here. I really like the level design, the way that like it loops back on itself, and narratively, like I really enjoy this area. It's like one of my favorites. I know it's not like necessarily a popular opinion. Like I don't think this area is like really lauded, but I've always really liked it.
Yeah. Mechanically, it always frustrates me just a little bit because I tend to get lost. I tend to double back, and I die here more than I do in other areas, just because of the two unique enemies here. But I do agree with you that from a lore perspective, it tickles my speculative bone, which is
the speculum.
It tickles my speculum. Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of conscripted you for this one, Murph. Like you didn't
that's fine.
choose to be. We had kind of low hanging fruit, and considered. I mean, I think at the time when we first started, I mean, we even said this at the time we first started doing the show. You hadn't played the game, so that happened during the course of the show, and you became an option as a guest. I think
go
ahead.
No, I think I had just beaten Quelaag when I kind of invited myself on.
Well, yeah, we're happy to have you. Do we have any like wrap up stuff before we switch to admin and get on out?
Would the game have benefited from more stuff like this?
I would have loved it. Like I understand developers' hesitation to hide, the stuff they worked so hard on behind and make it optional, but I would have adored it. Right. I like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, just stuff off of the critical path.
Yeah.
Optional, like significant content.
I mean, it's more game, so yes. But I don't like. Would I have preferred it maybe on the critical path? I'm not sure, because I'm not very much of a completionist in games. Usually, I just kind of follow the critical path and say, "Oh, F dodging 100 lightning bolts." But
yeah, you're a better man for it. But Dark Souls has changed us all.
Yes.
Like I'm similar, but then Dark Souls. So
there's BDS and then ADS. But
I don't put this in the same category of dodging like 100 lightning bolts. Like this is like this is gameplay. This is more. This is more stuff. This isn't more. I don't know. Pressing a button. Yeah.
And previously, like Kole and I have talked about it on our other show and stuff that like we kind of agree that that's the best reward in a game is more game. Yeah. Right. So like interesting areas. And the thing that this has over, and I'm not trying to bait Kole, but the reason why I like this area more than I like Ash Lake and the Great Hollow is that, or at least more than I like Ash Lake is very well hidden, but there's so little game there. Like there's really none. It's cool from a lore perspective, but this is both. Like this is a cool lore thing. It's really speculative and mysterious, and it also like introduces new gameplay concepts and new kind of things to do.
Right.
So.
Ash Lake is just so long. And
you just spend a lot of time running through nothing, which I kind of like from how it works narratively.
Yeah.
But it's a slog to play through.
It's definitely more about look and feel than actual substance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I asked that question just because I think like what if there was this kind of like critical path with these digressions that showed you more, and if you were just observant enough to find them, it would kind of change the experience. So I imagine a playthrough that was just going from A to B to C, through to Z, and then all of these, just kind of side streams off into, alpha, beta, 1, 2, and 3 that would, enrich that. And when you came back, you would be able to know so much more about what you were seeing there.
Yeah. Well, that happens a little bit with the with what we're talking about in the next episode.
Oh yeah.
With Kath and all that stuff. Like, but yeah, just the fact that happens is a strength, and I'm really glad that everything we've learned about Dark Souls 2 suggests that they're going to maintain that and make it even more so.
Yeah.
Like this, I get off on this shit in a big bad way.
Murph, before I raise that rhetorical question, it sounded like you were going to say something.
Oh,
do you
sorry
remember
if I cut you off.
was? No.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Good stuff.
As we said at the beginning of this episode is brought to you by Audible.com. And for you, our dear listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial of their service to give you an opportunity to check out what's happening there. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/bonfiresidechat. Again, that is audibletrial.com/bonfiresidechat for your free audiobook. Sunday. Also applicable the rest of the week. So since we've wrapped up the Painted World, let's talk about what we're going to do next episode. We're going to be talking about Darkroot Basin and also the new Londo Ruins. So if you found a bunch of ghosts earlier, couldn't beat them, now is when you can get your revenge. And we're going to have Brayton Cameron from the Pitch podcast. He's going to be coming on to talk about all them pesky ghosts.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. The Pitch is a podcast I do with Brayton. He's a funny dude. He's one of my oldest and best real life friends. And he is a Dark Souls noob. So he has... we're talking about New Londo Ruins. He has gotten through New Londo Ruins. So, and that's it. So, he's fine with spoilers and stuff like that.
Are you guys gonna pitch a new transient curse?
Yeah. We should probably come up with some cross promotional things. We'll do it for a week on the Twitter.
Yeah,
we'll do Dark Souls, and better than my regrettable Dark Soulami with the bread of lettuce and or bread of chaos or bed of lettuce. I can't remember what it was.
Wait a minute,
Cola Demon.
But better than the Cole is Dead week, and also the 4 episodes on the Pitch where you talked about me breaking my fucking ribs in a car accident. I'm sorry, I need to throw an indictment at you, Gary.
My sin is going through the roof. You were indicted. We spent a lot of time on that show in all its various forms talking about Cole being dead or hurt. It's because you're 5% of the audience. More people need to listen to that thing.
Yes,
so we know we're talking directly to you. So that's about it for us for this episode. So before just kind of admin stuff, Murph, what do you want to plug, my man?
Let's see. I have my own podcast called Dork Night. It's just a bunch of friends. We get together every week and shoot the shit. Usually magic, not the parlor tricks, but the card game, video games, movies, comic books. Basically that.
You guys have good banter.
Oh, well, thank you. We work on it. We practice.
Good
12 hours of banter a week. No, we're actual real life friends, and that's why we got into podcasting, is because we are flung to far corners of the earth. So it's really just a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we definitely recommend you listen to the Dork Night because it is fantastic. And Gary, what do we do? The things.
Cole and I do a couple shows, most prominently Watch Out for Fireballs, which is a retro video games podcast, kind of similar to this, but on one game each episode, or sometimes 2 episodes per game, sometimes 2 games per episode, but kind of this book club style examination of a game from front to back.
Yeah. Think about it as a pod magazine about your favorite thing in the world.
Yep. If it is your favorite thing in the world. And at the time you hear this, the next episode will be about Max Payne.
Yes.
So.
And the previous episode will be about Metroid Prime, which we didn't like, and you probably don't like us for not liking it.
Yeah, and you probably did. if the response is anything to go by. So
we appreciate it.
In addition, Cole does 2 shows. He does a show called The Level, which is a roundtable video game discussion, also similar to a print periodical about kind of news, random subjects, what you've been playing. Kind of covers all the bases and, really mature and put together real well with a good group of friends, similar to that kind of Dork Night appeal. He also does a show with his brother Chris called Those Damn Ross Kids. Chris is somebody we should get on the Pitch at some point for Cole is Dead podcast. We should probably, after we end this Josh Groban thing, we should probably get Chris as a sponsor, because Chris spends a lot of time dressing Cole down. Rivaled only by how much time Cole spends dressing Cole down. So.
I shouldn't dignify that with a response. However, since you mentioned the Pitch, I should say that it's a show that you, Gary, do with Brayton Cameron. It is a fantastic, just the funniest damn thing in the world, full of puns and awesome products and honestly solutions for modern day living. I don't think that I could get through my day without my Grobe robe.
It's comfortable.
Yeah, no,
it's your absolute favorite product.
Yes, but. It's so weird to hear myself doing that thing.
I get that kind of stuck in my head, and then I realize I'm singing a song that Cole wrote. It's really weird.
It's shameful, is what it is.
Yeah.
But
we're a masturbatory lot here at Duckfeed.tv.
Yes, we are. But you also do a show that is currently in semi-reruns, is that safe to say? Dead Idea Valhalla, which is a variety music comedy podcast that you're airing shows from a little while ago, and there was a new show recently, which was really, really good. So check that out. That comes out every Monday here on the Duckfeed.tv network. And it is a fun, happening place to be.
Yeah, and we definitely appreciate it. Like, rate, review us on iTunes, tell your friends, all that jazz.
Facebook, stuff happens there. There's been a lot of Dark Souls 2 chat happening. They're on the shows.
Yep. And if you have corrections or additions or stories or anything, we kind of got the notice out late on this episode. But if you have things to say about Ghost Town, definitely get in touch with us. Duckfeed.tv/contact. Or, through the Facebook group or anything. And we'll be happy to read your comments on the air in one of our appendix episodes.
Yeah. And I don't want to overstay our welcome.
Episode.
Yes. Annex episode. Yeah. I don't want to overstay our welcome, but if you would like to buy something on Amazon and support the network, there is duckfeed.tv/tipjar, which covers our blog hosting, our episode hosting, et cetera, on down the line. I'm not going to beg you for money. But what I will beg you to do is keep listening to this show, because it is a really fun thing to make.
And in addition to continuing to listen to the show, please praise the sun.
Please praise the sun.
Praise the sun.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
That was the most dignified one. Like, it was the one that wasn't asking a question. So I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Confident.
Very sure of yourself, Murph. Thank you.
Oh, yes. That's sun. I live in Florida, so we're all about that.
Yeah.
Praise the Oxycontin. Maybe we should cut that out.
No, it'll be the outro.